The Skeleton Crew, Episode 5, you have a lot to learn about pirates. On At Attin, the parents desperately work on a plan to send a message beyond the barrier to the kids, but quickly find that it's easier said than done. As Wendell, Wim's father, gets caught red-handed by a security droid doing just exactly this. And luckily for him, Fern's mother, Farah, who works in a higher position than him, saves Wendell from some serious potential consequences. And initially unaware of, or I don't know, not supportive of the plan, she soon realizes that, yeah, there's no other way. No one on At Attin is going to help them. They need to do this on their own. Finally admitting that she agrees. She concludes that they have to go behind the supervisor's back if anyone will ever see their kids again. And for sure, it's good to see the parents at least trying to do something here, but I'm also left wondering what's up with Neil's dad. I mean, he's been a complete no-show so far. We do know that he exists, but he hasn't been shown on screen yet. And unlike Neil's mom, he hasn't shown any concern, at least none that we know of Neil's disappearance. And we don't know if he's in on this plan or not. So it's going to be interesting to see what the show is going to try and do with him going forward. Meanwhile, aboard their starship, the Skeleton Crew managed to restrain SM-33 and reprogram him so he can no longer attack them. And it looks to work, as he seems rather calm about it all, and he reveals information about his former captain, Tak Rennod, which turns out to be the most infamous pirate the galaxy has ever known. And for the first time on screen, the starship's name is also revealed as the Onyx Cinder. SM-33 then casually mentions that Rennod hid the coordinates to At Attin in a secret lair beneath Skull Ridge Mountain on a planet named Lenoa. And at this point, I'm sure we're all thinking the same thing. Hey, it looks like we're going to Lenoa, and this episode feels like it's gearing up for an exciting, perilous adventure on a dangerous planet full of pirates. And yeah, that sounds like a good time, why not? However, upon arrival, things take an unexpected turn. As it turns out, Lenoa is no longer a rugged pirate hideout. Instead, it has transformed into a luxury spa planet during SM-33's time offline. Skull Ridge Mountain, yeah, it's now a hotel and spa. And as expected, SM-33 is appalled by this, lamenting how his captain's lair has been ruined by being turned into a tourist resort. And while this curveball by the show's writer, Myung-Jo Wesner, initially felt disappointing, I have to admit the rest of the episode quickly made up for it. I mean, the resort itself was surprisingly a vibrant setting, full of various different alien species. I mean, there's brand new, never-before-seen designs, some lesser-known ones like the Trogloth from The Last Jedi, and even familiar faces like the Hutts, Mon Calamari, and the Munes, which was a visual treat. Come on, Munes lounging in mud baths with towels wrapped around their heads? It's unexpected, hilarious, and somehow perfect. Oh, and yeah, I even dug the outfits of the hotel guards too, which to me look like they were inspired by the World War I British infantry uniforms. And that's just awesome. It's small details like this which I really love to see in Star Wars. Now, since Lenoa has a no kids allowed rule, Jod devises a plan to smuggle the kids inside, disguising them as alien wise elders from the Brateric system, aka the Brat system, who also can't speak basic. And yeah, it's a comedic highlight, even if you do have to suspend your disbelief given their really shoddy but hilarious disguises. It's almost as if the hotel staff either overlook this or play along, especially since Jod later bribes the hotel director to pose as the immune Professor Umaim Gorlax. And while Jod burns through Wim's Old Republic credits, he seems to really enjoy himself in this classy resort setting. Until that is, well, a bounty hunter he knows rather well by the name of Pocket, who shows up and recognizes him as someone else, someone called Dash Zenton. And yeah, I like how the kids also begin asking themselves, how many names does this guy actually have? As no matter who Jod meets from his past, everyone knows him under a different name. And surprise, surprise, none of them have anything good to say about him either, constantly reminding the kids not to trust him. Especially Pocket, whom, holding a grudge for being left for dead by Jod, then ends up alerting Captain Brutus about his location. And soon enough, Brutus's men storm the hotel, forcing Jod and the skeleton crew into a chaotic chase filled with hijinks and tension. And it's during this sequence here where we also get to see a pretty cool, unique alien species like Catalops, whose name and design somewhat seem to be inspired from the Lovecraftian monster Cthulhu. And this creature ends up helping the crew find their way into the tunnels beneath the hotel too, where they end up navigating booby traps that guard Rennod's lair. And the traps themselves are, I'd say, somewhat clever, like an acid pit deactivated only by dropping a coin, which is a cheeky nod to the pirates' love for treasure over anything else, even life itself. And with Jod's help, the kids then end up reaching Rennod's base and uncover his plunder, which there is a lot of it here, with Wim notably even spotting a lightsaber on display with some extravagant golden features. And based on its design, I'd say it's likely possibly from the High Republic era. Furthermore, there's also a golden statue of what it seems to be an elephant man, which makes me wonder if this could maybe be the same species as Neil, and if so, then who knows? Maybe it's got something to do with how Neil's family and species got to At Attin. Huh, maybe, but yeah, together the crew eventually find the coordinates to At Attin, and also stumble upon an old hologram of Rennod himself. Interestingly enough, the hologram quality is rather weak. We don't really see Rennod's face in it, or at least not a good look of it. So at first we have no idea whether he's a human or alien, and no doubt his identity will likely play a role later on in the series. Because, I mean, why else try to cover it up here, right? Although, based on some quick cuts from this scene, it does seem to look like Rennod could be either a Weequay or even a Nikto. Which, if so, then again, why bother to try and to hide this? Not like we've never seen a Weequay or Nikto pirate before, so I don't know what they're planning or cooking up with this, but it's gotta be something. Regardless, Rennod's hologram does reveal that At Attin's actual treasure is its status as the last Old Republic mint, capable of producing infinite credits. So yeah, there goes the whole secret behind At Attin. As it turns out, the kids' homeworld is essentially the ultimate treasure. And this is where things take a, I'd say, predictable turn, as this revelation spurs Jod to finally betray the kids, challenging Fern to a duel to the death for the captain's title. And as I said back in episode 1, it was pretty obvious that Jod would eventually betray the kids at some point. The guy has a sketchy past after all. He goes by many different names. Jod is maybe not even his real name. He also betrays other people. He's got a track record of doing that after all, and everyone, of course, does keep telling the kids not to trust him. And well, here's the moment we were all waiting for to see happen. As with the coordinates to At Attin, Jod realizes that he no longer needs to play along as some kind of babysitter underling hoping for a modest reward. Instead, he can just ditch the kids, become captain himself, and try to take everything At Attin has to offer. But rather than killing Fern on the spot for the captain's title, he instead urges her to yield. And it's here where Wim attempts to intervene heroically with the lightsaber that he found earlier, hoping to act as a Jedi hero to save the day. While this is at first played as a moment of epicness, it does quickly fade away as he basically fumbles, igniting the lightsaber upside down and embarrassing himself, and then, losing the weapon. Yeah, no surprises there. The kid has no business being a Jedi. He's got no Force powers or Jedi training, so it's kinda to be expected. As even if he had turned the saber on properly, he'd still realistically lose to Jod's Force powers. And with no way out, Fern does end up yielding, making Jod the official captain of the Onyx Cinder. He then orders SM-33 to imprison the kids, but before he can, they do manage a quick escape using one of the booby traps, leaving Jod bewildered. But it's no real loss for him, as Jod does end up picking the lightsaber, now holding a powerful tool to bolster his schemes. Overall, I think it's safe to say that this episode was a banger. Yeah, it subverted expectations, but it did so in a good, fun way, as it did a good job balancing comedic and serious moments filled with genuine tension. Like, I actually found myself even chuckling several times throughout the episode, which I can't say has been the norm for me with this show thus far. Plus, not only that, but it's just a good-looking episode too. The visuals are great, there's always something nice to look at, and as I mentioned before, the unexpected resort setting and all the diverse aliens added in was such a delightful treat. I really liked it. Granted, the betrayal at the end was predictable, but I'm not gonna hold it against the episode for that, as we all knew it was coming sooner or later. It's more so how the show continues forward from here that's going to matter in that respect. Besides, the betrayal itself was well done, and it's got me now thinking that it's hard to now ignore that Jod's Force powers are more likely legit, since he does use them frequently throughout this episode, mainly to pick up metal objects and such, but I'm starting to believe that it's more likely than not that they are real than a trick as time does go on. Oh, and now with a lightsaber in his hand too, he can virtually make anyone do believe that he's a Jedi. And this will also likely play into him gaining the trust of the people of At Attin, who probably revere the Jedi. And not to mention that the same writer of this episode, Myung-Jo Wesner, is also set up to write the next episode, with Bryce Dallas Howard directing. Oh man, talk about a power couple combination right there. Buckle up folks, because it looks like we're in for quite the treat for episode 6. And that was my take on this episode of The Skeleton Crew. Let me know what you all thought about the episode in the comments down below, and if you haven't already, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.